Today I'd like to begin telling you about something that I call the FORCE strategy. And this is a system that I use for improving my speaking and listening skills in my target language. And I do this every day. At first I followed this very closely, and I always remembered what each letter stood for, but it's really just become a big part of my lifestyle. Today I was speaking a number of different languages, and this is very common for me to go into Starbucks and speak one language there, and to run into a friend and speak another language. And today I was in the grocery store and I spoke something else with one of the cashiers there. But FORCE is an acronym, and each letter stands for one step in a 5-step cycle that you can do over and over again to improve your speaking and understanding ability in your target language. And you can do this every day, and you will discover that it will help you make absolute, definite, measurable, objective progress in your language skills. So what this allows you to do is to make the most of every encounter that you have with somebody who speaks your target language or languages. You can do this intentionally or instinctively, and it will lead you to consistent progress. Where this really started is a number of years ago. I met a guy who was a very, very talented polyglot, spoke a number of different languages. And one of the things that intrigued me about him is when he described what he did to improve his language skills all the time. What interested me in particular is that he didn't grow up with a whole bunch of languages, but he learned them as an adult. So then what I started to do after meeting this guy is I started interrogating everybody that I could find who spoke other languages, and I asked them, what did you do to learn your languages? Not people who grew up multilingual or grew up in a family with a heritage language, but people who were already adults when they decided to tackle another language. What did they do? And I found out that there was a pretty consistent pattern. Even if they worded it a little differently, there were some things that people did all the time, over and over and over again. And what I tried to do is put it together in a memorable way that I could teach to my students and help them do the same thing. And also to be sure that I wasn't just making random bits of benefit out of the encounters that I had, but to actually have a strategy and a way that made sure that I got the most benefit possible from every encounter that I have with the target language community. And that's what this is all about. I have found that among my students, sometimes I get students who have studied their target language in university or college or somewhere, and they've studied for many years, but they can't speak at all. And they're frustrated with that because they put in a lot of effort, and they've probably spent a lot of money, and they've done all the exercises in their books and everything, but they can't speak. And one of the things that really helps is if they will use something like the FORCE strategy and get out there and use their language, but not just use it randomly, but use it purposefully and strategically, and make sure that the time that they spend using their language actually produces some benefit for them. So I think this will be helpful for you as well. Not all of the benefits of the FORCE strategy will be obvious to you right away, but I'd encourage you to try it for a little while and just see what happens. Don't try it for a week and say, oh, well, I watched the guy's YouTube video, tried it the next day, and it didn't work. Try it for a little while. Get to the point where at least you can say, I understand it and I've given it a whirl, and then you can type some comments in on this YouTube below this YouTube video. The FORCE strategy gives some structure to the time that you'll spend using your target language. So you're not just out there winging it and having chance encounters, but you're actually making sure that you get maximum value from the time that you spend. This will work for any language. This isn't really specific to a particular language. It'll work for any student. It's not for a particular learning style. It's not for any particular age. Young people can do it. Older people can do it. You can do it with almost any toolkit. I don't know if you're using maybe teach yourself books or audio programs or taking a class. And it doesn't matter what level of proficiency you're at. Just about any environment will be suitable for this strategy. What you really want to do is build a new habit. A habit of using your language intentionally, strategically, purposefully, with the goal of always improving your proficiency level. And this strategy will allow you to do that. You don't need any fancy tools. I love my gadgets. I've got my iPhone here, and I love it. I'm use my dictionary there, and I've got my Kindle and all my other goodies. Those are all super. But people are learning languages all over the world with nothing, with maybe a pen and a writing pad if they've got that. You don't need a lot of fancy things. They're cool if you've got them, and they can be really useful. And as I say, I love them. But you can get a lot of benefit out of the simplest things. And this little strategy will be very useful for you. You don't need a lot of expensive stuff. You don't need to go out and spend a bunch of money. I think it's helpful to have a writing pad and a pen, probably, at least. What you'll do is, when you begin the force strategy, is you'll prepare for every encounter that you're going to have in your target language and try to anticipate what's probably going to happen. You should expect to engage other people in a conversation in your target language and be ready for it. Don't be freaked out. In fact, preparing and knowing what's coming will help you feel a lot safer. It will let you take chances a little more and be a little bit braver and not be overwhelmed. Because you can prepare. You never know what's going to come up. When you run into somebody and you try to use your target language, they may talk about stuff you've never seen before, and there's nothing you can do about that. But you try to anticipate a little bit and say, if I'm going here, let's say I'm going to the Chinese restaurant, and I know that I'm going to talk about Chinese food and chopsticks, and I'm going to ask for the menu. Then you can prepare, and then you feel safer to speak your Chinese. Even if you don't know a lot of Chinese and you can't talk about a million other things, you could talk about one thing. You could talk about getting food in a restaurant. So this is the idea. You're going to prepare in advance, and you're going to work strategically through this 5-step strategy. Each time that you go through the 5 phases of the force cycle, this is called a cycle. So you're going to go step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5, and back around again, and use this routine over and over again. The key to your language development is interaction with real people. I love my books. What have I got here today? I've been looking at my Italian book, and today I got together with Margarita, my friend from Italy, whose name I'm always pronouncing like in Spanish, Margarita, but it's not really Margarita, it's Margarita. So, you can use your books and whatever else you've got, but the key to developing speaking proficiency is actual live interaction with real people. There's nothing like it. Sitting here with headphones on and listening to CDs, it's useful and it's helpful, and I've done all that. But the way that you get good at using your target language is by using it. I've said that you cannot learn to speak a language, you have to speak to learn. And I know there's other things to say, and that's not a complete picture, but it's helpful, and it puts a certain emphasis on the process that I think is important. Studying, memorizing rules, and learning vocabulary does not make you bilingual by itself. At some point, you have to interact with real people. At some point, you have to jump into the water and you have to start swimming. And I do that pretty early on. And I do it with this force cycle. So that's what I'm encouraging you to do. Prepare, expect to engage the target language community. You're going to go out and find people who speak your target language. There's all kinds of ways to do that, and perhaps we can discuss that in a future video. But you're going to get ready, and you're going to use your language in real time with real people in real situations. It's not classroom, it's not artificial things, and you won't be talking about goofy things that don't matter to you at all. It'll be your life in your real world. I find that with the force strategy and engaging the target language community, the real people who speak your target language, motivation is really easy to maintain because you're enjoying the experience of communication with real people. For me, the Tagalog language is tough. It's really hard. And the book is only mildly entertaining. But what is really fun is meeting Filipinos and enjoying their sense of humor and their culture. And when you start to use your target language at whatever level you can, and you start to work your way in and move from an outsider to an insider, that's the big reward. And that's the motivation that'll keep you going. It's pretty tough to press your way through a big, long grammar book. But if you're enjoying the people who speak your target language, if you are entering and becoming an insider in your target language community, then this language becomes possible for you. I've said before, perhaps in some of my videos here, that I meet a guy who says, I could never learn another language. I just have no ability with languages. And then he falls in love with a Vietnamese girl. All of a sudden he's a genius, and he can learn Vietnamese, and he's got tones, and he's got all this word order, and he can make all these crazy sounds in the Vietnamese language, because it's engaging with real people that really will motivate you. And I am skeptical that people can learn languages well for other reasons. I guess it's possible, but I think almost always it's that you enjoy the people who speak your target language, even if it's a business thing. You enjoy being able to do business and have a business relationship with people, or have a romantic relationship or a friendly relationship. Languages are about relationships. They're not about power or academic intelligence. Great if you've got it. I don't regard myself to be one of those kind of people. I just really enjoy people. And because of that, languages work for me. So the motivation and the payoff, it's all about using the language and engaging with real people. I think you'll find the same thing. But if you're different, that's cool. If you've got other motivations and it's working for you, good on you. One of the things that you'll find when you start to use your target language in real life with real people is that you will run into all kinds of samples of the target language. So, you've got your Italian book here, and it says, okay, in the beginning we're going to talk about, subject pronouns, or we're going to talk in the present tense. Unfortunately, when you run into Italians in the coffee shop, they don't care whether you've only studied chapters 1 and 2. They're going to use whatever grammar they want. They're going to talk about whatever they want. But this is great for you. This is a great thing. This is what I love. I am finding Italian the way Italian people are using it to talk about what they want to talk about in my city. So I'm not getting some sort of artificial mixture of, 2 chapters of the present tense and 3 chapters of the past tense. I'm getting a little bit of everything, which means I got to work pretty quickly to get a sort of general feel for how this language works and get an overview of how it works, so that when I run into it, I've got some idea. Are we talking in the present or the past or whatever? But what's so valuable is that you're not getting this artificial classroom talk and teacher talk. You're getting the language, the way it's used, in the mixture that it's used, with all the slang that's used. You're having realistic language samples. When you're using your language this way, you improve your pronunciation, you improve your vocabulary, your grammar, and your understanding all at once. It's all happening at the same time. And your brain is going a mile a minute, and you're thinking, wow, this is so intense. I remember when I first started having conversations, like extended, multiple hour-long conversations in Spanish, I would go home and fall asleep. I was just wasted. It was like I'd been stacking boxes all day. I was just done. And but it was fun. Just like runners, sometimes they say they go running and they're exhausted and their body is just drained of all its strength. And they say at the same time, man, I feel so good. You'll find that too with your target language. You get out there and you use it, and it's hard, and everything in your brain is working to try and understand and say something intelligible and remember the words and put them all in the right order. But it feels great, and the reward is so high. That will absolutely keep you going. It sure works for me. What you have to do in order to make daily progress and use the force strategy or something similar is you have to take responsibility. Let me point at the camera here. You have to take responsibility for your progress, for setting direction and for maintaining progress. So it's not about, I don't speak Italian because I bought the wrong book, or I don't speak Italian because my teacher is no good. No, you are going to take responsibility to a great degree for the learning process, and you're going to make your own steps forward. The force strategy is a simple way that anybody can do, and you can do this, and you will be sure, you'll be able to look back and say, wow, I couldn't do that, and I couldn't do that, and now I can do this and this and this. What I really like in language learning is not to be able to say, well, I studied this, I studied that, so I'm done with that. what I want to be able to say is I can do this, and I can do that, and I can do that. For example, today, talking with Margarita about in Italian, and I am really a beginner in Italian, but we were doing it. We talked in Italian. I could say a lot of things without using any English at all. So we talked about, I said I want to be able to talk about my family, I want to be able to talk about my business, and I want to be able to talk about myself as a student of Italian. So I take responsibility for making sure that I can do that, and Margarita helps me through that. So now I can say not just I studied this or that, but I can do this or that. I can talk about my family. I can talk about, how many people are in my family and how many sons and daughters I have and how many wives I have, which is just one. I can talk about what I do for a living. I can talk about my Italian and say, my Italian isn't that great, but I'm making progress and I'm enjoying it, and I can make myself understood, and I can say things like that in Italian. So that's a cool measure. You'll get the most motivation out of being able to track not just what you studied, but what you can do. And that'll keep you going. That will, if you have a sense of progress, you can keep going. So follow me on to the next video, and we'll start talking about the force cycle. And I'll teach you the first letter in the acronym, which is F. And F stands for focus. See you in the next video.